Good day, everyone, and welcome to another session of our Full Disclosure interview series, where we speak with people doing exciting work around transparency, accountability, and civic participation issues. Today we have Yvonne from MacArthur Foundation. Hello, Yvonne. How are
Hi.
you doing? Good
I'm
to have you.
doing well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm good too. Thank you.
That's good.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you do at MacArthur Foundation, especially on the On Nigeria project.
So my name is Yvonne Darkwa Poku. I'm a human rights lawyer by profession, and I am a senior program officer at MacArthur with the On Nigeria team. While I do a bit of everything to do with our work in On Nigeria, addressing, anti-corruption or corruption through different avenues, I focus more on our criminal justice work. What do we do in the criminal justice work? Our criminal justice module uses a new law, a new criminal procedure law. It's not an anti-corruption law, let me be clear. It's a criminal procedure law that governs how crimes are investigated, prosecuted, and adjudicated in the Nigeria criminal justice system. Now, this law is called the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. So our strategy takes a dual approach. On the one hand, we are trying to strengthen the Nigerian criminal justice system through the adoption and implementation of the Federal Administration of Criminal Justice Act at the federal government level and as well as in the 36 states. Now, once we do that, we are trying to leverage the benefits of a strengthened criminal justice system to advance the fight against corruption. And how do we intend to do that? Well, prior to the passage of this Administration of Criminal Justice Act in 2015, the justice system was notorious for significantly delaying and stalling corruption cases, especially those that involved big government individuals and other rich people. What the ACJA brought was guidelines to ensure swift mechanisms that will allow cases to proceed at a faster rate, speedy trials, time limits on adjournment of cases, etc. So we are using the innovations of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act by strengthening the system to allow for speedy dispensation of justice, adjudication and prosecution of perpetrators of corrupt acts. So that is essentially what the criminal justice focus of our On Nigeria program targets and looks at.
Great. So you have worked on human rights and justice issues in Africa for a while now. What's your motivation? Is there a personal story to you going on this path?
Well, I have always been, I say that human rights is in my DNA. I have always, since my teenage years in high school, I have always been passionate about justice and rights, especially in Africa. Even before I moved to the US in 1997 to pursue my education and to go to law school, I always knew that, ultimately, whatever I studied or wherever I went, my focus would be on the continent. I think to some degree, I consider myself a Pan-Africanist. I'm really passionate about the injustices that plague us. I feel like as a continent, we have so much potential. And things that really hold us back include some of our human rights abuses, violations, etc. So it's always been a passion of mine. I don't particularly have a personal story. It's just been a personal passion of mine. So even in my regular work and in my after work activities, there's always an element of human rights work in Africa that I'm engaged in.
Okay. And so, Yvonne, in the number of years you have been working in this field, in the transparency, accountability, and civic participation field, um, and from your prior experience as well, what significant changes have you seen on human rights and justice in Africa, especially in Nigeria, given the current situation and all that, and also in other parts of Africa too?
Um, what over the last, I would say, over the last 17 years that I have worked on human rights in various forms. So I have worked on issues such as human trafficking. I continue to work on issues of conflicts and mass atrocities. And then now looking at more traditional forms of justice and addressing anti-corruption. I feel like one thing that has been on a steady progress or steady ascent for me has been participation, whether it be grassroots, whether it be community based organizations, loosely formed groups, civil society organizations, activists. I feel like increasingly the saying of African solutions to African problems has been emerging. There's been a groundswell of interest by different aspects of society, whether it be young people, whether it be activists, academics, journalists. Increasingly, in my opinion, I have seen a rise in interest for civic participation, advocacy, protest, letting your voices be heard, in a variety of ways. So that is something that I have consistently seen rise over the last 17 or so years that I've been involved in different aspects of human rights work. Participation on the ground from the people. There used to be like, I think the old method of having people coming from abroad to champion causes, I think that is slowly dissipating. And we have our own people taking up issues, demanding action, and moving the needle on abuses that affect their own communities. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. I clearly understand you. But on the flip side, what changes do you hope to see in the future? Like what things have we not really gotten right? I'm speaking in the context of Africa, where your expertise lie. Like what are those things that we still need to work on, or that we are yet to get as much as we have gotten the right things?
Political will. Political will and sustainable action from government. I think that it cannot be a one-sided action. You cannot expect your citizens to always be the ones to raise the funds and the resources and the tools to demand for action or accountability. I think that it is necessary to sustain those actions. And the only way that you can get that sustainable long term impact is if the government and quasi-government entities prioritize some of these issues and integrate them into, be it budgets or making accommodation in various ways to address issues beyond the term of maybe like a grant or some kind of external assistance. And I feel like the political will to sustain these movements is seriously lacking.
So are there other changes apart from political will on the part of the government? Are there other changes perhaps from the citizenry that you would like to see in the future?
Um, so for the most part, I feel like we have active citizens now, especially young people. And I think we see that all over the world, but especially Africa. They say we're a youthful continent. I think we have a significant number of our population under the age of 25. So I feel like, we have a robust movement of young people. However, it is not 100%. There is a lot of apathy still. And I think that um, because we have seen that movements can be successful or that movements have potential, I would like to see less apathy, not just from young people, but even from older people joining forces, doing more cross generational. I feel like because of our culture and some of the things that we're used to seeing older people do, I feel like young people are dismissed quite easily, even though that they have shown themselves to be forces to reckon with. We still have these existing cultural practices that doesn't allow us to hand over the mantle to young people. So I feel like there should be a cross generational desire for change, where the young and the old can join forces and make things happen. So the apathy and the dismissiveness amongst some older generations, I would like to see that change. And I did say political will, but I feel like political will is the starting point that ties into sustainable reforms, because if there's a will of the government to see some of these actions through long term without support from outside, I think all of those things tie in. So I would like to see, holistically, those things addressed in an ideal world.
Great. So moving away from the field a little bit and now to the work around carrying out this work and helping and supporting grantees. So as a program officer, what recommendation will you give your younger self or to any program officer starting out in this field?
Well, I think the advice that I would give, it all still comes back to the field. I strongly believe that, especially if you're sitting in my shoes in Chicago, with a focus on a place like Nigeria or any part of Africa, your strategies need to be informed by the field.
Hmm.
The field needs to shape your approach, because there is no one size fits all strategy that you can take. And in fact, I think that has been the problem of grant making and philanthropy, etc., that you will sit in your little office in New York or Chicago or wherever, craft a strategy and expect that you can take it to the field and implement it. I think the reverse should happen, that everything that you propose to do should be informed, should be culturally sensitive, appropriate, should be applicable, and should be informed by the needs and the priorities of those who are actually doing the work. Because however we perceive or conceive of ideas here may not resonate, may not be the right strategies that are needed, may not be the culturally appropriate ways to undertake things. So I would advise any program officer who sits in a funder seat and is working outside of the United States, or especially in Africa, to allow strategies to be informed by the people who are there, and what they need. It should be responsive to the needs and the priorities of the field in which you intend to work. It is my cardinal rule and has always been for the last 11 years or so.
Great. So Yvonne, finally, who inspire you? Who or what is your superhero?
Africa inspires me. I have a burning desire to see us tap into our greatest potential as a people, as a continent. I think that we can do so much. We have so much to offer. But I think that bad leadership, maybe sometimes legacies of colonialism, I can't leave that out. Legacies of colonialism, bad leadership, and sometimes lack of motivation or apathy holds us back from tapping into everything that is possible on the continent. We have some of the best mineral wealth. We have resources, agricultural. We have so much. And then we have a culturally diverse people who are smart, who are innovative, who are creators. And I think that we have so much to offer. And most of the time, we don't get to show our potential. And so that's what inspires me every day, to bring out the best, to showcase the best that we have on the continent as a people, and even in the diaspora, not just those of us at home, of us who are abroad, whether it was through slavery, whether it was through immigration. There's a lot of us in the diaspora and at home, and I believe that our collective potential is immeasurable. And that is the source of my inspiration all day, any day.
Great. What a fantastic way to end this conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you for joining us and for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome.